I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, September the 12th, brought to you in part by Macrocin. Macrocin is a bold, straight shooting telithromycin injection that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, a big week this week at Joplin Regional Stockyards. They've got 7,500 head Monday here for today's feeder cattle auction. Going to be a lot of yearlings in there, a lot more than typical and a lot more than they have had. They've kind of ganged them up here for a yearling special. Also, Mark Harmon told me they're going to have a lot of weaned calves. So it'd be a good week to get in if you're interested in getting some of those weaned calves to turn out on wheat, or getting some of those yearlings to fill your empty pen space in your feedlots. But don't miss today's auction here Monday, 7,500 head at Joplin Regional Stockyards. Now on Wednesday, the 14th here, they got a special cow and bull sale. It's going to be at 4:30 in the afternoon, like it always is, after the earlier day weigh-up sale. But they've got a lot of real nice consignments of bred cows on there, so you need to check out that. Also, the next day on Thursday, going to have a primetime livestock video, going to be right there from the barn, happening at 1 p.m. Thursday the 15th. Primetime livestock video, got several lots on there. Railroad strike, and if you guys haven't heard about this railroad strike, you're going to hear about it a lot this week. But the unions that represent the railroad workers and all your major railroads are planning to strike by the end of the week, which is the earliest that they can, if they don't get their needs met. Of course, they want more money and they want more time off and they want this and that and everything else. But your railroads themselves are planning to delay shipments of some products like hazardous materials starting early this week. Now the unions and the workers are thinking that they're doing that just to get Congress riled up and get them to go in there and put an end to that ideas of having a strike. But what the railroads are saying is, we don't want to start out this week with hazardous materials and then have them stuck out on the line somewhere if work comes to a stop, which that does make sense. But it is going to make a difference in everything. Everything. We've got a shortage of trucks right now. The trucks cannot make up the difference. It's going to be big, not because we haul cattle by rail anymore, which we haven't for many, many years, but we do haul their feed. 20% of all grain shipments in this country are done by rail, and 1/3 of our grain exports are done by rail. Now, I'm not even sure, and I'm not sure if anybody else knows exactly what it's going to do to our grain prices if it goes, if this stops. I mean, you know, you would expect on one hand, you might think that they'd go through the roof. On the other hand, if they're all backed up, may not. We're not sure, but it's just going to disrupt things. And we're just getting harvest underway. I've seen several reports that they have started harvesting in the southern edges of the Corn Belt, so we're going to be in full swing here within just a few days of Corn Belt harvest. And some people are on beans and some are on corn, some are on both. But it is going to mess things up. I mean, your grain elevators, your storage facilities would immediately be overwhelmed if they couldn't move that stuff out by rail and get it where it needs to be going. But in your fertilizer, most of your fertilizer shipments come by rail at some point. It's I tell you what, it's going to be a wreck if they let this strike happen. But I assume, and most people do, that Congress would go in there and prevent the strike and get in there and have arbitrators working on things and trying to get the deal worked out. But I know for a fact that down here in the southern plains, they heavily depend on distillers product that comes from the northern plains, and that most all of that comes by rail, and then it's trucked out to the dairies and the feedlots down here. But I mean, it would cause a total wreck. And you know, guys in your feedlots, the most thing they're worried about is keeping the rations consistent, because you can't get product out to these feedlots, and you can't keep your rations consistent. It could put your cattle off feed. It could cause a lot of cattle to die. It's a bad deal, but this is going to be a total wreck if they don't get this deal figured out, and I assume that they probably will, and Congress is in and will do that. Bad thing is that we got a lot of other things for Congress to do. We need them to pass the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act here within the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be having meetings on that and trying to get people in place to do that. We've got a ton of sponsors on there on the Senate side. We need to get that deal done. They've got to reauthorize mandatory price reporting before the end of the month. We're hoping that those things kind of come together. And like I've said several times, I'm not sure we need mandatory price reporting if we're not going to force packers to buy at least a minimum percentage of their purchases each week in a negotiated manner, and then using that weighted average that's put together from the negotiated sales to settle all of their sweetheart deals. But a lot of things are going to be going on this week and the following week, so pay attention to that. Let's look at your board for last week on cattle futures. October live cattle futures, of course, Monday was a holiday. Tuesday was up 50 cents, Wednesday was down 80 cents, Thursday was up 12, and Friday up $1.30. A big finish to the week there, with October live cattle ending the week at 145.67, which is going to be a considerable premium to what our weighted average is in the 5-area feeding region, but that 145.67 was up $1.12 for the week. December ended the week at 150.97, up 72 cents. September feeder cattle, Monday was a holiday. Tuesday they were up 30 cents. Wednesday down 2.15. Thursday was up 30 and Friday up 67 cents. But September feeder cattle ended the week at 183 smooth, which was down 87 cents for the week. October ended the week up 80 cents compared to the end of the previous week at 185.75. Corn gained quite a bit of ground last week, up 19 1/4 cents a bushel, ending the week at 6.85 a bushel. Beans were down 8 1/4 cents a bushel for last week, ending the week at 14.12 1/4 cents a bushel. Fat cattle trade up through Thursday, 58,400 head. Had a little bit of trade on Friday, which will add to that, but that 58,400 was about how much we'd sold in the 5-area both the previous week and the same week a year ago. But your live sales of steers and heifers up through Thursday ranged from 138 to 146, which it was a little bit tighter spread than what we've been seeing here, because going on through the summer here, we've seen huge wide spreads because we had a big premium being paid in the northern plains compared to the southern plains. The northern plains has come down more than the southern plains has, so that's getting tighter. But that 138 to 146 for live steers and heifers last week was $1 to $2 higher, but your weighted average was lower. More of those cattle trading down in the bottom end of that price range, and your weighted average on live steers up through Thursday, which it was only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because Monday was a holiday, 142.17. And that was down about 70 cents from the end of the previous week. So we got some more sales to go in there, which could raise it a little bit, but it's not going to be steady with the previous week. Dress sales last week ranged from $2.24 to $2.30, which was $1 to $4 lower. And your weighted average on dress steers was more than $2 lower at $226.63. And we're going to have a little bit more to add on to that on Friday. Friday's sales in Colorado was confidential, of course, because they don't have enough participation by the packers to even report that information. Iowa, 2,700 head on Friday, 14,400 for the week up through Thursday. Live sales in Iowa ranged on Friday from 143.5 to 144.5. Nebraska, 5,000 head confirmed on Friday. A little over 31,000 for the week, which is kind of typical for them, but the other areas were lower. But live sales in Nebraska, 143. Dress sales, 226 to 229. Kansas, about 1,000 confirmed on Friday, not quite 15,000 for the week. 141 was the price in the Southern Plains on basically everything. Texas didn't have any confirmed sales on Friday, but they were 141 through the week also. Box beef cutout values were lower. Your weighted average on all of last week's sales of choice cuts, $259.27. That was down 46 cents compared to the weighted average from the previous week. And your end of the week sales were about $2 lower than that. So it was dropping late in the week. Selects, cuts, your weighted average on all of last week's sales, $236.90. That was down $217 compared to the previous week's weighted average. And also the end of the week sales were about $2 lower for select cuts there at the end of the week. But choice select spread on your weighted average was $22.37 based on 650 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings through the week, which is fairly typical, but pretty decent movement. Your slaughter last week, 604,000, which sounds like, but remember we were closed on Monday, so you can't really compare it to the previous weeks, but it was 25,000 better than the same holiday week a year ago with a big 92,000 head harvest on Saturday, which is pretty aggressive. Talk about what else is going on. Western Video Market is having a big sale, a video auction tomorrow on Tuesday the 13th. It's their Haythorne Ranch sale. Going to be broadcasting from the Haythorne Ranch headquarters there near Ogallala, Nebraska. Going to have a lot of those Nebraska cattle on there. Got about 25,000 head of cattle to sell on Tuesday. They'll start early. Get on there and look at the videos, look at the lots at wvmcattle.com. When you get ready to bid on the sale online, go to bid.on.wvmcattle.com, or you can just go to DV Auction and find the Western Video Market sale there. If you want to do it old school and call in on the phone and watch it on your DishNet, go to channel 998. Talk about your feeder cattle market last week. Your real-time index on DV Auction ended the week after Saturday's sales at 180.40, which was up 59 cents compared to the end of the previous week. And your cash feeders were some higher last week, but we were really looking for direction because we didn't have our big high volume Monday sales to go by because they were mostly all closed because of the Labor Day holiday, except for Russell Livestock, Russell, Iowa. They had a big Monday sale because they always have a big sale on Labor Day Monday. Torrington had a big sale last week, which they always have a Labor Day special, but just really missed our consistent Monday high volume markets to kind of get us set on track. But for the most part, your cash feeders last week going into the feedlots were steady to $3 higher. Calves were $3 to $6 higher. On your bigger consignments of fancy unweaned calves even, and all your weaned consignments there, because people really want those weaned calves. But tell you what, we're starting to see a lot of ranch consignments coming into your sale barns of really fancy lightweight calves. Some of them coming early because they're wanting to save that grass for their cows, get them kind of fleshened up before they head into the winter. But we saw some really impressive sales last week. I got to witness at Lone Star Stockyards in Wildorado, Texas, the Lighthouse Ranch outside of Canyon, Texas, sell a load of steer calves weighed 504 at $219. That's down here in the Texas Panhandle, guys. Pretty good. But we saw a lot, and those were right off the cow. And we saw a lot of good prices being paid for unweaned calves, but they had to be in bigger strings and they had to be fancier, and a lot of them to really do that. If you just bring in, a bumper pull trailer, a ball and calves that still need a lot of sorting, you're not going to be able to realize prices like that, guys. You need to commingle them like Joplin does this time of year. If you bring them in on a Sunday, you can put them in with like consigners, with like cattle, and those cattle will sell together, which helps them get a better price. I encourage you to do that. Let's look at some of your big sales late last week and over the weekend. How about Fort Scott Livestock Market on Saturday? 3,200 head. That's a big sale. That's a big sale for anybody, but that's a big sale for Fort Scott on a Saturday. Look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central from DV Auction. You see the best tested weights, and it was a well-tested market there. 212 head of 5-weight steers, average 545, with a weighted average price of $189 1/4. 315 head of 6-weight steer calves averaged $653 at $180 102 on your weighted average. There were 417 head of 7-weight steers in Fort Scott on Saturday. They averaged $763 with a weighted average price of $177.32, and 679 head of 8-weight steers averaged $865 with a weighted average price of $174.21. And that's pretty much your market, guys, there in the upper part of the Southern Plains. It's a pretty good market right there, especially on a Saturday. Give you some other individual quotes around the circuit. How about Jones Brothers Livestock Auction? I'm not sure we've ever talked about them, but they're DV auction broadcasters. They sell in Marshall, Missouri. Getting a fire built under that sale. I've got that location in Marshall. Got another location in Boonville, Missouri. But sold 58 steers, weighed 756 on Friday, bring 190 1/2. Pretty good market there. How about Crawford Livestock Market on Friday? They sell 110 steers, weighed 1,029 pounds. Weigh over 1,000 pounds there at 175. But let's talk about your Zoetis stick-out sale of the day late last week, and it was Bluegrass Stockyards out of Richmond, Kentucky. Look at these loads and bigger that I pulled, and these are just the ones weighing from 800 to 1,000 pounds. You think they don't sell strings of feeder cattle in Richmond, Kentucky? And I'm telling you, it's 2 blocks from the town square. It's unbelievable how they get in there, get those trucks in there, get those cattle sold. But it's a good market. People like Jim Doss, they like doing business there, and they've come all the way through this. A lot of the guys that went to the old Lexington barn that burnt down, they were going to Richmond while they were constructing the new facility at Lexington, and a lot of them have stayed there at Richmond because they just like the way that they do business there. But 800 to 1,000 pounds, look at all these loads, and they bring from 165 to 180. But also your Mackerson Noble top quote for the day for late last week come out of Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond, Kentucky. 235 head come through the ring, weigh 8 1/4 at 185.50. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.